afternoon. This is Kevin in the executive smoking lounge. We've got my no-name basket pipe, which is the first pipe I ever bought, with some Whites of Southampton Special Blend, which is really one of my favourites actually. The thing with this pipe is that out of all my pipes, this one absolutely just gets the worst gurgling out of all of them. It just gurgles something chronic, this one does. I don't know why. You have to constantly be cleaning it out, you know. There we go. I don't know why, it just seems to get quite wet, this one. Anyway. Anyway, this was going to be my VR to Jay. I think you made an interesting video when you were talking about bullying and that sort of thing. And I have a few thoughts. First one, you were saying about kids, you know, being very disrespectful and what have you, and I completely agree with you. It is down to us as parents, or the media, you know, maybe. You know, I think the problem is every generation is less disciplinary than the generation before. I'm sure, you know, I had a slightly less disciplined, if you like, childhood than my parents, and I'm sure my children less so than me. Anyway. And the other thing you said was about bullying. I think bullying is an interesting one because, I mean, as a child I was bullied something terrible from about, probably from 10 to about 13. I got bullied quite badly, and when I was about 10, 11 or something, I had like almost like a nervous breakdown almost as a kid, and had to go to sort of, you know, relaxation classes and that, and ended up taking, like, it wasn't like Valium or anything, but it was like a herbal equivalent of sort of some sort of sedative. And anyway, well, I think the problem with that was my mum and dad were always very much, you know, I'll just ignore it and they'll soon get bored and all this rubbish. And I sort of, you know, that's what I always did. It never worked. Until one day, and I remember it very distinctly, when I was about 13, I guess. Being in an English class at school, Mrs. Johnson, who was a teacher, if you're interested, and there was this lad who used to bully me, and he used to sit behind me in English, and he would just constantly be kicking me and bloody poking me and all the rest of it, and I just put up with it and tried to ignore it. And this one day, he just did it once too many times. And I just absolutely just lost it. And I remember getting up in the English, literally standing up in the middle of the English lesson, grabbing the nearest thing to hand, which happened to be the teacher's sort of, you know, 1 metre board ruler, wooden board ruler, and then just turn around and absolutely started beating the 7 bales out of him with this board ruler. In the end, they thought I'd broken his arm and everything, and he got sent off to the nurse. And I remember the teacher saying to me, I had to stay behind afterwards, and I was absolutely bricking it. I was thinking I was going to get expelled or something. And after the rest of the class had gone, the teacher said to me, she she said, I have to keep you behind, I have to be shown to be doing something. She said, but he absolutely deserved it, and I'm not going to punish you in any way, just sit down there for 10 minutes and you can go. I thought that was great. But my lesson there was, as I tell my kids, is you need to stand up for yourself a bit. I mean, I'm not saying you should go around beating people up or anything, but you do need to stand up for yourself. And as it happened, after that incident, the lad who bullied me and myself about 6 months later became like really good friends, and you know, and were right up till we left school, sort of thing. You know, so it's just strange, isn't it? You know, and kids are just nasty and will be kids, won't they? I suppose. But anyway, but my other thoughts on bullying are that, I mean, I have inherited my dad's mastery of sarcasm, and you know, and I am the most sarcastic person you'll probably ever meet. But I rib people all the time, and I get ribbed, as you know, especially at work. You know, I think the problem is that, why is it when you have a pipe you have a tendency they'll have to point with it? I think my thing with bullying in that is that there is a very fine line between, you know, we call it good-natured ribbing and bullying, and I do think sometimes people just need to get a sense of humour and just laugh these things off, you know, because it's, you know, there's no point getting head up about it, but there is a fine line between bullying and good-natured ribbing, I must admit. Fortunately, all the people I've ever worked with have always had a good sense of humour, so there we go. The other thing I wanted to say with regard to, you know, bullying, cyberbullying if you like, on YouTube is there's a delete button for a reason, people, or you can block them or whatever, and just if it bothers you that much, just delete it. But I do agree with what Jay said, that people do hide behind keyboards and cameras and whatever, and they'll be all tough and, you know, what have you, when they send in emails or videos, because they know the likelihood is they never have to confront that person. But as you said, Jay, it could happen. As my mum used to say, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Talking of mums, happy Mother's Day, Mum. I went round and saw her this morning, and I'm going back this afternoon to see my nan as well. Well, there we go. That's me and my 10p's worth, or whatever you want to call it. Have a nice Mother's Day. Bye bye. See you later, people.